Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is your guy Keenan Lambert. In this one, I just want to be reflective about my experience in Cuba. Now, you guys know that I'm in Cuba all the time, and right now the United States media machine, as well as its government, is destroying Cuba. I mean, there are wide sections of Cuba that are without power right now. Without power, without fuel for cars. So essentially people are using bicycles, horses, and other primitive methods to get around. Now, does that mean that you shouldn't go to Cuba? And my answer to you is, well, you have to do it a particular way right now in this very complicated time. Now, you could say, okay, I'll just postpone my trip till after this nonsense is over. Well, Cuba really needs your dollars right now. Okay, with dollars, it gives them a sense of buying power. It gives them actual buying power, something that they don't have with their pesos. Okay, so I ask you, if you have plans to go to Havana particularly, do it. Okay, but you're gonna have to be very specific on how you do it. You have to stay in a particular zone close to the Capitolio. Okay, if you end up staying out in Vedado, if you end up staying out in Miramar, Marianao, those areas, then you're going to be affected by the power situation. Okay, there are widespread blackouts in sections that are far away from the Capitol building area. Okay, where I stay is tight to the Capitol building area. And on that particular power grid, it's the most reliable in the area. Okay, the most reliable in the country right now. From what I noticed, people are a little bit more desperate. Okay, that desperation, what does it look like? It looks like people walking up to you and begging. Okay, and instead of taking the first no and moving off, like how they may have done previously, okay, they're gonna stick with you for some time until you say no forcefully again. Okay, some people don't like that sort of thing. Personally, I don't love it. Okay, but it's the reality of the situation right now. People are hungry and they're getting hungrier. Okay, individuals that don't have those strong connections to Miami, right? They are suffering. Okay, even individuals who are in the middle class in Cuba, lower middle class, working class, but dependent on tourism in certain ways in order to get forward, they are struggling. Okay, you look at even a fruit vendor. A fruit vendor is somebody who's out on the streets and they're selling fruits that are grown maybe in the outskirts of Havana or in different provinces. Right now, because of the fuel situation, it's very difficult, right, for them to get their fruits, their vegetables coming in from different provinces or the outskirts of Havana. Okay, in some cases you see one guy in a little moped carrying pounds and pounds and pounds of goods on his back. Right now, electric scooters or electric mopeds are in high demand. Okay, individuals are able to go ahead and charge that moped and ride it around for how many hours they have access to. So you take guys like fruit vendors, individuals who are self-starters, right? Individuals who are not attempting to just live off of the government in ways that the United States government doesn't like. Okay, the classic socialism that the United States is worried about, the classic communism, right, which they talk about, the hammer and sickle style communism. Okay, you get these individuals who are engaging in low-level capitalism and they are being negatively affected by the United States foreign policy. Okay, the foreign policy that exists in the United States as it relates to Cuba is just to destroy it, to allow for Miami Cubans, right, to come in as some sort of savior to essentially pick up the economy from ashes. No, the United States has always had its economic embargo, its Cold War economic embargo on Cuba since what, the 1960s? But there was some sort of limited trade that went on, okay, especially foodstuffs. Okay, however, Cuba just had to pay for it in cold hard cash. Tourism is one of those ways in which Cuba is able to get that cold hard cash that it needs, right? And right now, with Canadian Airlines pulling out because of the jet fuel situation, okay, right now, jets are unable to be refueled in Cuba due to the United States cutting off access to Mexican oil, cutting off access to Venezuelan oil for the Cubans, right? So right now, jets have to essentially have enough fuel to fly from where we're coming from, okay, touch down in Cuba, turn around and go back to where they were previously. What a lot of European airlines are doing now, right? What I noticed, Air France, okay, I believe Air Europa as well, what they're doing is they're using Nassau, Bahamas and the Dominican Republic as refueling points. Okay, I love to see that commitment. Thus far, Air Canada, from what I noticed, is pulling out of Havana, pulling out of Varadero, and that situation is just maybe not going to be repaired until they can find, you know, a similar refueling point. Okay, ideally that refueling point would be in Miami, but the United States may not be willing to help those airlines. You know, the destruction that you see in the streets of Cuba is directly related to the United States embargo. It's directly related to the mismanagement of the Cuban economy by the Cubans. You could definitely say that. Okay, but right now, you can see that this little minor move, right? Maybe not, you can't call it minor, right? But you could say mild pressure the United States has put on Venezuela, has put on Mexico, has completely thrown the Cuban economy into absolute disarray. They won't be able to stand months and months of this type of pressure. So while the United States is, you know, using an extreme amount of exerted force and the Cubans' economy is suffering, it's still not going to sponsor some sort of widespread Cuban revolution, right, that Miami Cubans are hoping for, right? I think Cubans in Cuba very well understand that Cuban Americans are influencing the disarray that is in the Cuban economy right now. Okay, you can make arguments against the Cuban government for their mismanagement of the economy, for maybe some sort of corruption that goes on. Okay, however, when you have these massive actions that are purposely being done against the country, right, it becomes clear. It becomes clear who Cuba's true enemy is, and right now it is the United States. Right now, I would say it is Marco Rubio, it is Donald Trump. Okay, the buck stops with them. When you see old people, when you see, the indigent out in the streets of Cuba begging for food, right, down on nothing, for me, the individual that I blame for it right now is Marco Rubio. It is Donald Trump. Thankfully, right, we haven't seen massive inflation in the Cuban economy since this oil situation has persisted. Right now, goods have been costing the same. Right now, the peso is being traded somewhere between 480 and 460, which is what it has been over the last couple months. So at least in that respect, things are staying stable. However, gasoline, which was maybe 80-something cents, 70-something cents per liter previously, has now gone up to like $6 per liter. And you see how this sort of squeezing has caused a lot of strain on Cubans, everyday Cubans. For the rest of us, for tourists, okay, if you can find a car, you can stand that pain, right? Which is why staying in Central, right, staying in Old Havana is actually, it actually makes more sense because there are more cars there. When you go out to Vedado, it can be 5 minutes before a car passes. And that car, if it's a taxi, is going to be loaded up with individuals, right? So which is why I really recommend that you guys stay where I stay, in Central, in my apartments. and the beautiful queens of the streets in Central Havana, they're hurting. All right, you have a quick conversation with them and they'll let you know that a lot of their clientry is simply not coming. All right, so that looks like them getting more desperate in the streets, in some cases stealing, right? You've seen Airbnb hosts sort of make subtle changes right now. If individuals, right, if tourists are having guests visit them, they have, a sort of a sign-in situation. They have a security person when, in cases past, maybe they didn't. So ultimately, if you're planning on visiting Cuba, okay, I definitely say that you can do it, but make sure that you're staying in Havana in a particular area. Right now, I don't think it's a great time to go out to the other provinces. Right now, I think it'll be hard to go ahead and maybe go to Havana and get a car out to different provinces in Cuba. Okay, so stay in Havana, have fun in Havana, and then the next time around, maybe you can make those movements to other provinces, okay, the way that you want to. After this oil situation, this heightening of the American economic embargo, right, is resolved. If you are not a Cuba veteran, I would definitely recommend that you check in with me. Okay, you check in with me or one of the other guys that visit Cuba that frequent them. If you can get a hold of them, have a quick consultation, I recommend you do that. If you want to talk to me, okay, I will put my contact information below. We can do a little consultation. Okay, historically, my consultations have been free. If you'd like to donate something, you can do that. But I'm doing this for the support of the Cuban people. Okay, so free consultations. If you want to donate something to the channel, you can do so. But my consultations are 1,000% free. This is how we do it on my side. All right. So just reach out below and let's do it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.